And see, Sully, Tracy gives you the wrong information about my case, my son's case, let me say. She says, and this was sent to me by a supporter. I'm not going to say who. I don't know where it came from, but I see that Anna Sully KTR, and it says, I find it interesting that Luke's appellate team is trying to overturn his homicide charge based on the timeline and the ME put forward. I wonder why they think the timeline matters in Braden's case. No, that's not what's happening in that case. The timeline, the timeline was found to be not in the favor of Luke because Kelsey was gone. Kelsey, look, let me explain this to you so you'll know. Kelsey had to go to court that morning for a traffic ticket. And when she woke up to leave, Braden wanted to go with her. And she didn't want Braden to go with her because it was court. So he started throwing a fit. So she put Braden in the bed with Luke. And then she left. In between the time that she left and got back, which is probably an hour and a half, is when Luke did what he did. The timeline, the medical expert testified that there was no, because Luke said he was talking to Braden and that he fed Braden a little bit of something and that Braden spit up a little bit in this time. He's texting. They got it from the texts from each of their phones. Both the medical examiner that actually looked at Braden and the medical expert that we brought in said that there was no way that Braden would be coherent enough to speak or eat, and that spitting up is a sign of a brain injury. So they proved that the timeline went against Luke. Okay, what the oh, I can't say too much. Uh, it's not an appellate team that wants to overturn his homicide. And I'm not down for it. I'm not down for him getting out on a technicality because I know he did it. I'm not down for it. I want nothing to do with it. But it came my way. I'm not down for him getting out on a technicality, which is what you guys are trying to do in Darley's case. Darley does not challenge the evidence in her case. She doesn't. You guys do. So Braden didn't pass away immediately. It took a day for him to pass away. And what they were told was that he would be on life support for the rest of his life. So Kelsey and Daryl, his dad from prison, decided to pull the plug on him. So the technicality is, did Luke paralyze him for the rest of his life, or did he kill him? He killed him to me. I don't agree with this. He caused his death. So they chose to pull the plug. That's what they're looking at in this case. I'm not all excited and everything else about it because he beat that baby. He caused a concussion on the baby. If I have to go down and get all of the video of the court again, I'll put it up again. But I don't want people to even think that Luke has an appellate team that's trying to overturn his homicide charge. Because that's not what's happening. And I'm not down for him getting out on a technicality. But what the law and the state is saying is, did he actually cause his death? And I know that Tracy gave you this information because I spoke in depth with Tracy about it, and not even the non supporters knew this. Not even the non supporters knew that they're looking at this, and they've been looking at it for about a year. I told Tracy this. I also know how you were led over to Real World Podcast, who's my friend now to this day. We had a big ass argument, but I could call him up. And when I did call him up, he said he didn't know you. Said he didn't know you at all and he doesn't want anything to do with that. And I noticed the other day that you said, "This is how I know that you're talking to Tracy," because you said Tracy had good content on her channel. Yeah, that content has been disproven, and Tracy knows that. The lady who had the YouTube where the BryanSt.John came up, the lady who ran the group came up and said, "Yes, those are faked. They are fake. They used fake profiles to talk to each other. And if I have to prove this, I will. I've caught them talking to each other, and I've got everything documented." I never made fun of that baby. I never. I said some unkind words because we all know each other, and they were harassing me, which I can't say I wouldn't have done if it was my grandchild. I can't say that I wouldn't be acting like the Fergusons did. But now to this day, the Fergusons and I, or my family, if we see each other out, we still live within a mile or so of each other. We move on. It's people like you and people like Tracy that want to that want to harass. But the families have decided, we're not going to fight about it anymore. Period. I think it's pretty sad, that Darley's supporters, like yourself and Tracy, want to take the death of a child to try and make a point, to try and stick up for Darley. They want to take the death of a child. I told Tracy once that I was going to send her a shovel because he needs to rest in peace. Tracy's the only one that's ever done that. The Darley supporters put up a group right away about uh, Braden and everything. And one of the supporters, actually, it's Stephanie Hopkins. I'll tell you because I don't have no reason to keep names out of it. I'm not a deep throat in the DA, or I heard it from this person. Stephanie Hopkins messaged me. She said, "Bryan, you got to look at this group chat." She said, "I don't want to be a snitch, but this group chat had a bunch of Darley supporters in it talking about, oh yeah, we can get him now. We'll get him back. Oh, we got him. We can get him." And what are we going to do? So they put up a Justice for Braden page right away. So you got to think to yourself, isn't it sad that you guys will try to dig up a child who was murdered just to make your point for Darley? Think about that as you're doing this. But no, I guess you would find it interesting that Luke's appellate team is trying to overturn the homicide charge based on the timeline. But that's not what's happening. The only supporter that I told that to was Tracy because we talk. We don't. It's been a while since I picked up the Darley case again. It's been a while. I've been on her panel. Uh, we talk. She calls me. I've got her number. She's got my number. We talk. And then when I got back into the Darley case, well, she wanted to pick about it, and I'm not going to argue with her on it. She doesn't know the case as well as people think. Rich gives her credit for that. Tracy's welcome to come to my channel, but I'm just not going to argue with her about this case because we went for years and years and years of fighting about this case, and then it all slowed down because nothing was going on in the Darley case. Then we were friendly. Tracy used to be a moderator on my channel. She had a wrench. And when I started going into the Darley case again, she said, "Just block me, take my wrench, blah, blah." And when I did, she got pissed off about it. But she was a moderator on my channel. I gave her a wrench because people were bothering her, and I didn't like people bothering her. They would come to my chat to do it. She could just boot them. Ask her; she'll tell you. Tracy doesn't tell you that when she got cancer, I put up a GoFundMe to try and help her get some money. And Tracy doesn't tell you that I know her son Chance. She doesn't tell you a lot of stuff. She's just mad at me because I got back into the Darley case. But other than that, we had a Darley debate mock trial on Laura Perplex QT's channel, and Tracy was for the defense, and I was for the prosecution. And about the only thing she could come up with, well, the judge had Alzheimer's in that case. The judge had Alzheimer's in that case. No, that judge did have Alzheimer's, but he died 10 years later. He made a comment during court. He said, "Well, I might be up to the Z in Alzheimer's, but I know what's going on." The judge did absolutely nothing wrong in that case, and there's no judicial misconduct in that case, and hasn't been filed by anybody. So my response to Tracy on that one was, which really pissed her off, is it wasn't the judge that convicted her. It was the jury. All right. So she went on and on about that. And Tracy is a force to be reckoned with, but she gets things wrong. Like she got this wrong. And she keeps giving you information. I know where it's coming from. I'm not stupid. So you need to, if she's going to give you information, you need to stop talking about it. You need to just take information and decide for yourself what's right and what's wrong. Okay? Tracy, what Tracy did is when Rel and I were fighting and we were living in a co-op before I bought my trailer. We were living in a co-op that was based on your income, and she called them to let them know that I was making money on YouTube. Because you have to turn in your income for a co-op. She told me that she called them, so she went real life on me. Now, if I was you, I would take it with a grain of salt the things that she's saying or sending to you or telling you. That's your new buddy. Just like same thing with Rich. I don't understand why he said what he said about you. Then he's got you back over there. Because he did. He told me personally that he would never have you back on panel, and that you embarrassed the hell out of him. That you were acting like a thought and a ratchet out there when they were eating, and he was embarrassed. I don't know why he's got you back over there. Rich knows this, and I know this. And again, Rich is also the one that told me that Tara put you up to putting up my son's case and getting it all wrong, which is no big deal to me because he did what he did. The public has a right to feel what they feel about him. He's a baby killer. He did this and that, blah blah. The public has that right to feel that way about him because it's a fact. It's what happened. It doesn't bother me when you put his case up. It does when you get it wrong and say that he was hiding in the closet and all that and blah blah blah. You know, when 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 Luke first committed this crime, at first, ask Tracy. The first post that I put up was he's fucking guilty. I know he did it. That was within days. I know he did it. I know he did it. And Tracy messaged me and said, "You need to take that down. You could hurt his case." Ask her. And if she lies to you about it, let me know because I can find the post. All right, I can find the message where Tracy told me that it was in a Facebook message. She was the first one to tell me. All right, so I thought he was guilty right off the rip, but then he started telling us, "I didn't do this." He kept sticking to, "I didn't do this. I didn't do this. I didn't do this," and we didn't have the court records available at the time. So I gave my son the benefit of the doubt. He says he didn't do it. Okay, let's look at it that way. Even though I have my doubts. But no, I'm not down. Look, I don't talk to him much. I don't send him money. He's my son. I mean, what would you do if your son got caught up in this? And if your son did something like this, and we can't say what our kids will do. Luke showed no signs of aggression as a child. He was not a problem child. He was really calm and quiet. And when we do go visit him, he's still the same way. His mother is a different story. His mother, she knows he did it, but that's her baby, and she sent way too much money to him, and she's a mama bear when it's that. But we don't lie about his case. We're not out here lying about his case. I know that he did it, but at first, like I said, at first for a couple weeks there, I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt, and it just didn't. It just didn't fall through. So my suggestion to you is, you know, take what Tracy tells you, and I'm right. Because like I said, I tell you this again. Tracy is the only Darley supporter that I talk to any type about anything about Luke's possibilities. And, they wanted me to be involved with this. They wanted me to spend a bunch of money on a lawyer because back when he I was way more financially secure back then than I am now. So I wasn't disabled, had a great job. And I didn't put any money to an attorney. I was a witness for the state. They kept me out of the courtroom. But if I have to, if you're really interested in this case, Sully, we can put our differences aside. Remember, because he's found guilty. What else more do you want? We're not out here lying about his case. What else more do you want? But if I have to, I will. I'll get you the records. I'll show you some of the stuff where we've been harassed. My wife has been harassed. My family across the nation has been harassed by this case about this. And I don't blame those people for doing that because the thing with me is Luke looks exactly like me. When you put up that mugshot of him, he had been hiding out for a day. He was nervous. He was worried about getting arrested and all that stuff. Your mugshots never look good. But he was not a problem child at all. He wasn't. So this came from nowhere. So my suggestion to you, and you can comment under this. See, I can get past little arguments. I don't hold grudges on people. That's one thing I've never done. I don't hold grudges. I heard from Rich just the other day. I don't hold grudges on people. But if you want to know about that case and you want to do a story on that case, then I'll be glad. I'll be glad to help you with it. But the fact of the matter is, he's guilty, and there's no one out here trying to fight for his innocence because he's not innocent. And it's crushing. So I can imagine what Danelle and them are going through, right? I can imagine. I know what they're going through, but I'm not willing to lie and say that my son didn't do this when I know he did. I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to try and get, they're trying to get Darley out on a technicality. They're not basing it on any type of evidence. And you went on speaking about junk science, right? You were talking about junk science. Well, what about those little tests that you did? That's junk science, right? So how hypocritical can you be? Okay? So I just want to make it clear to you. This is not what's happening at all. The question is, was it actually a homicide when someone else pulled the plug? And it doesn't matter to me because he ruined that. Even if Braden wouldn't have died, he would have been brain dead and lived on life support and all that. He ruined his life from his actions. He did it on his own. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you I don't love my son because I do. He might be a monster, but I love him. You can't help that. You won't be able to help it if it happens to you. So please, if you're going to talk about my case in places, talk about my son's case, at least get it right. He wasn't hiding in a fucking closet. He did come to my house immediately after he did what he did. And the first thing I did was record it. As soon as he came to because Luke didn't show up at my house. I only live a couple blocks away. He wasn't the one that would show up at your house without a call first. And he come to the house, and I could tell by looking at him. And as soon as he said something happened to Braden, I knew it wasn't good. I knew he was hiding from something because he was at my house. Right? So the first thing I did was I said, "You stay right here. I'm going to go up there and find out." And by the time I get up there, the ambulance was already gone. It was just Janie in there who tried to give Braden CPR, and little Ryan Jr., which his name isn't even Little Ryan Jr. anymore, but that's a different story. That's the last time I saw my grandson in person, which is Kelsey. And then there was a big fight right then and there between that family and this family, right then and there. So when I went back home, Luke was still in my house. I told him, I said, "You can't stay here. I'm not on it. You can't stay here." So what he did was he went to my other son Zachary's house, which is also in the same neighborhood. Actually, Zachary lived right across the street from where Braden and Luke and Kelsey lived. It's all in the same co-op. And he went up there and come back down to the house for he went up there for a while, then he came back down to my house, and I kept telling him you can't stay here. But as I was telling him he couldn't stay here, he got a phone call from Dayton police on his cell phone. They tracked his cell phone down, and they were trying to get him to come in. There was no warrant out for him. They were trying to get him to come in, and I recorded the phone call. I recorded Luke on the phone with them just hours after he did what he did. All right, because we wanted to get it straight. We wanted to find out what was going on. And you can hear Officer Olmstead telling Luke, "Well, let me come get you," because he was a friend of our family. "Let me come get you," blah, blah, blah. And Luke was saying, "Well, I should be at the hospital. I shouldn't be here." And he just didn't seem innocent to me right off the rip because he wouldn't go in. And you can hear me at the end of it going, "Did you turn your GPS off?" Because we wanted to talk to him before we presented anything legal. And they'll use that against me because I said you turn your GPS off on your phone. Right? Uh, you can hear me. I mean, I've got it. If you want me to put it up, I will. I've got all of my phone calls that I had with Luke over the years recorded, every single one of them. And if I have to put those up, I'll put them up. But because I don't talk to him that much. And I talked to him about how we think about Braden. Got in a huge fight during a visit. Because he was during one of the first visits that I went with my ex-wife and my two other sons, and Luke was going on about being innocent, and it just hit me. I didn't want to hear this innocent shit. I just didn't, and that's what I told him. I said, "Look, you're here because you did what you did, and it's disrespectful to Braden." So my other son got in my face. We got to hollering about it right there in the visiting room. I almost ended the visit. I said, "Do you want me to wear a Justice for Braden shirt next time I come in here?" I said, "How about we don't talk about it? How about we just visit?" Those are the true things. So when Lion St. John put their page out, which is part of the family, fucking YouTubers and everything else, because here for years I've been covering cases like Cooper Harris, Hannah Overton, kids that had been harmed, and here my son did this. Right? So I caught a lot of hell about it. So you can try to irritate me about my son's case all you want. You're not going to irritate me about his case because I didn't do it. I didn't commit the crime. I got a divorce from his mother when he was 13 years old. I moved off to Colorado. I didn't raise him. I did move back to Ohio, but I didn't completely raise him. But at any rate, I can tell you now there was no sign of him being aggressive at all. There's a video out there of him. If I have to, I'll put it up. All the people were out there. All the people were at Luke's house. Kelsey was off at work, so they were watching the Super Bowl. And you know how guys are when they're watching the Super Bowl. They're just focused on the game, screaming, hollering, having their beers, whatever. But in the back, Luke's sitting on a couch, and you can see this clearly in the video. Luke's sitting on the couch, and Braden's on the back of the couch running back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, right behind his neck. And personally to me, that would aggravate the shit out of me. But Luke didn't say a thing to him, nothing. He was focused on the game. He kept bumping into him and everything else. And there's another video that I have. If you want me to, I'll put it out. There's another video that I have is we're looking at Ryan Jr. His name is not Ryan Jr. anymore. They changed his name. His mom has custody of him, and she will not let me see him. She won't let any of us see him. So Ryan Jr. this is probably about 2 weeks before this happened. And I'm filming Ryan Jr. He's laying on the bed. I'm goo 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 goo, and Braden's standing next to me, and Luke's standing next to me. And then as I'm filming, Luke walked out, went to the other room, and you can hear Braden say, "Where'd my daddy go? Where'd my daddy go?" He did. He called him daddy. So when this happened, we didn't. I right off the rip, I thought he was guilty. Something told me he was guilty. The way he was acting, the way he went and turned himself in, the way he came to my house. Something told me he was guilty of something. And when he said, "Dad, something happened to Braden," all right, but I put it aside. And I went down and I got all the court records and I got all the interrogations and I got the discovery and I got every single, even though I wasn't in the courtroom because I was a witness for the state, they didn't want me in the courtroom. I got every single bit of it. And Tracy was pressuring me to put it out. So I put it out. Every word for word about what was on the stand was on my other channel, which my other channel was huge. It was a big channel. I made a lot of money off of that channel, but I did not monetize any of Darley's videos. Some of the other true crime ones I did. You know, we're here, $2.99 a minute. You know what I mean. But that's the get go. That's the rundown on this. Don't listen to what Tracy tells you. If you need to know something, you can ask me. I won't bite your head off. I don't dislike you just because you support Darley. I dislike the lies that are told in that case. It's not you personally. Okay? I can't stand it when people lie about Devin and Damon and how they got where they're at. I don't like it. I've done this for years. But I don't take it personal. It's not personal. I can't stand a fucking liar. It's not personal at all. So if you want to email me, I'm sure you can get it from Tracy. If you want my phone number, I'm sure you can get it from Tracy. Matter of fact, it's 937-687-8768. My email is BrYSANUTT@gmail.com. If you have questions, I'll answer them. I'm not going to lie to you about anything. I don't have to. And I'm not going to hide from anybody. See, I know that you guys have already looked me up because your fucking husband made a comment. Well, my 5 of your trailers were fit in my house. Well, how'd you know I had a mobile home? I'm looking to rent it out and sell it right now, but we don't have a mobile home. You know, I'm not living in a mobile home now. So, if you need something to know if you need to know something about me, or you want to speak on me, you can come to me. All right.